Hi, I'm Linda Sousa with lindasousa.com and Joy in the Journey, and I'm going to be doing a pulled pork today. Uh, we don't have it that often, but once in a while, it's one of my husband's favorites, and so I like to make it. And today is a Saturday, and kind of a not really a lazy day because I already got up and got our workout in, and he's doing his right now. And so I'm going to get started on this because it takes some time to cook. And that's probably one of the reasons we really don't make it during the week. We usually do it on the weekends. And so in any event, there's tons of dry rub recipes out there. You can find all kinds of them all over the place. John has one that he's kind of perfected and we really like. And so I tend to use that, and then I add my own spin on it. From that dry rub that I use on the pork, I then actually make a barbecue sauce. And I'll do that in another video at some point later. I'm not sure that I'm going to make that sauce to go with this today. We'll probably be having this pulled pork over brown rice. We actually have some farro that's left over from last week, and it's still in the fridge and it's still very good. So we may end up having the pulled pork over a nice warm farro salad. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to end up doing later on today, but first thing I want to do is get this pulled pork ready. Also going to be making, I don't know if you see the ingredients back there, I'm going to be doing, after I'm done this, I'm going to do a video on, and I will be making a butternut squash mac and cheese. One of my favorites, I should say. It's not exactly my husband's favorite, but it's definitely one of mine, and it's great. A side dish or a meal itself could actually have a little bit of that along with some of the pulled pork. So many options, so many things that you can do. So in any event, I'm going to get started. I'm not great with measurements. I will give you some measurements because I do have a recipe that I kind of go by, but I don't measure. That's just my thing. I'm Italian, grew up in the kitchen with my parents. We just a little of this, a little of that, taste, texture, feel, smell. That's how I cook. So I'm not great with measurements, but because I do share recipes, I do try to do what I can in order to give you that, a basis. So what I will tell you is that there's a set of ingredients that I'm going to be putting in. It's more or less a 2-to-1 ratio. So for these ingredients here, if I'm using them, I would use 2 tablespoons. For these, I would use 1. I'm not going to necessarily measure, but I might just for your benefit initially, and then I'm probably going to add a little more as I go along because I'm also going to use what I have. And obviously it's not something I'm going to taste until it's on the rub, but it all works out. So I'm going to start with some salt, and kosher salt is really the best thing to use. For this one, I can use, here, let's find, and again, I hate using these things, but I'm going to use them. So I'm going to, off the bat, double this. So that's 2 tablespoons, so I'm going to make that 4, all right? So 4 tablespoons of kosher salt. So we're definitely getting some good salt going on in there. And then this is garlic powder. And I know some is filling into the bowl, and I don't really care because, like I said, not into the measuring or so worried, and that's catching the overflow. So we've got some 4 tablespoons of that going on in there. Some dry mustard. This stuff is awesome. Gives everything a nice flavor. Now this isn't as easy, so I think for this one, I'm just going to take off the top, and we're going to measure this out. This way. Ooh, if that fits, and it does. Alright, a little over the top. That's okay. This one we won't make as full. There we go. So we've got some dry mustard in that. Now onion powder is next, and I don't have a lot of that. I have a little thing of it. So I'm not even sure it's going to measure up to a full 2 of them. There's 1. Actually, finishes it off. There we go. That's for trash, right? So put that over there. And then the next thing that we're going to do a 2 for is brown sugar. I'm using an organic light brown sugar. And, you can use just traditional brown sugar if you want. You can use, we love the sugar in the raw, but I really don't use sugar that much. My sweeteners usually are honey or maple syrup, but this is not a wet rub, it's a dry rub, so I'm not obviously going to be using honey or maple syrup in this. So that is all of the ingredients that I did the 2 for, right? So next comes the what I would be doing 1 tablespoon of, but I'm going to be using 2 because, as you've seen, we've been doubling this. This is ground cumin. Ground cumin always gives everything just that nice, it's just such a, I don't know, a really cool fragrance. And you know, if you get the little seeds and then you actually grind them, it'll that and the turmeric will actually turn your grinder a different color. So so just watch that. Now this recipe that I'm going by actually calls for white pepper, and I don't have any white pepper in the house. I'm going with the black pepper, and I'm not a massive, and it's coarse ground black pepper that I'm using. I'm not a massive black pepper fan. Certain things I really like black pepper in, and other things I'm not that crazy about. Old traditional, Old Bay seasoning. You can use any kind of like seafood seasoning that you want, but this one is the one we like, and so that is going in there. Next is some cayenne, good old red pepper. I think we're going to be finishing this one off too, but we bought another one yesterday because we use a lot of this. There we go. There's one. That's really not much. I'm just going to finish that off. And we like our things a little spicy, so I'm going with another. Well, I was supposed to do 1 of those, right? And that filled that up. I'm just going to add just a little more. Okay. We don't want it too hot, right? I'm going to give it a little kick. And ginger. We love ginger. Love fresh ginger. Always have it in the house. And that's going to be a 1 for. There we go. So there's the ginger. I like to add a little bit of oregano, and that's not in the recipe that I have there, but I do like the oregano. But what I like to do is I like to break it down a little. Just kind of break it up. And a little touch of paprika, not much, but it just kind of gives it that color, and there's just something nice about it. It's just really like the cayenne, kind of. Sometimes I might add a little curry to this as well. And then I'm just going to mix it up. And this is going to be the base of my dry rub. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just going to mix this all up. I'm making a lot of it. I'm not using, obviously, all of this on our pork here. Oh, it smells really fragrant, though. It smells really, really good. And then I may adjust it, depending upon the look. And how it smells to me. Because I know what my rub is supposed to smell like. And I'm thinking it needs a little more garlic. Little smell test. Actually, it's smelling really good, but I do think I'm going to put a little bit more garlic powder in there, and I may just put a little touch of mustard. This is my doctoring it up. The humidity, I think, makes everything stick together, and I'm actually going to put a little more of this. Actually, a nice heaping tablespoon. That just helps everything caramelize. That brown sugar just gets in there and coats everything and really makes a nice difference. So there we go. Rub is done. You can use this as a rub for so many things. Put it on seafood, on shrimp, before you put it on the grill, or you can put it on all kinds of meats, on chicken. It's a little spicy, a little tangy. It really is just delicious, and other than the sugar, there really isn't much to it in terms of calories. So what I'm going to do with this is I usually keep it, I'll do a couple of them, and I'm going to put them into here to keep, to store, and put it in the cupboard. So now we have them for future use. One of the reasons I'm doing this now, and as you see it, is because when I get ready to coat my pork, I want to make sure that my dry rub that I've made is secured and somewhere else. I don't want to contaminate my rub. So you really want to be careful, and you want to make sure you're not, putting your hands in here, because if you need a little more for that, you want to make sure you're going to a base that if you have a little left over, you don't mind tossing it aside if you're putting your hands in it. I cook with my hands, so I get in there and get it all mixed up. So this is all set, this is all ready, and that's going to go in the cupboard with those things. I have a lot left over here. I'm going to pour some into here. Let's see if I can do this. Look at that. So now, all right. So I'm going to pour some of this, or sprinkle it, I should say, on top of this. And I'm going to get every side. And I feel like I'm going to sneeze. It's that black pepper. I think it's getting to me. So here we go. And then I gotta make sure I got my paper towels handy. And I'm just gonna rub this all over this. And I'm gonna add the rest of that there. Now, this is gonna really come out so nice. I may need a little more. Actually, no, I've got plenty around the pan. I just wanna rub it right in there. Marinate it. Marinate your pork in the rub. Get some on the inside there. Because we're going to cook this and cook it down so that literally it comes apart with a fork or with our tongs. Because this is just going to cook down. And of course, I'm using a pork butt. It's probably close to 5. It's a little over 4 pounds, maybe 4.5 pounds. And I'm going to add a little water to this. There. I probably could use a little more rub, but I think we're good. I think we're good with this. There. I don't know if you can see that. Let me move that out of the way. So there you go. So this is it. Very simple. A nice rub. I'm going to add some water to this. I want to show you how I do it, and then how I wrap it. And I seal it really, really tight. Now, I didn't preheat my oven. I probably should have done that. Let me just give my hands a good rinse before I touch anything else. And let me grab a cup so I can put some water in the base of this. Now, I didn't put any oil. You could put a little bit of olive oil if you want. This has got plenty of fat. I don't feel like I need it. Let me turn this water off. I have a tendency to turn the water on in the sink and let it keep running, which is not good. All right, so we've got enough water in here to get it started. You can see that. Just want to make sure it's not sticking. That water eventually is going to evaporate. Got a nice rub on our pork. You know, some people do it and they do it dry. That's not how I do it. And I'm going to cover it really well. And then I'm going to cook it in a high heat. I'm actually probably going to do 375 to 400. Obviously, keep an eye on it. And it's going to cook for several hours, at least until it's tender. And obviously, when you open it, if you open it to check, be very careful when you're pulling off that aluminum foil. So there is my pork. The one thing I liked, I'm using this aluminum pan, in part because I don't feel like cleaning up a big mess at the end of the day, but also because the pan is nice and deep, and that pork fits nicely inside of it, and then I can cover it. So It just makes a nice conduction for cooking the pork, so that heat's going to go and it's going to surround and it's going to cook that pork from all angles and really just cook it and steam it in there. And so that's why sometimes I like using these little pans. It depends obviously upon whether you've got, you know, how big the pork butt that you're using is. But this is a relatively small one. It's just John and I. And so that's it, my friends. I will be back in a little while. I'm going to get this put away, get my dry rubs put in my cupboard, and I'm going to get ready to do some butternut squash macaroni and cheese. Have a great day. So this is our our pork butt, and as you can see, I took it out of here. A lot of it is coming apart with 2 forks. So I'm just going in and I'm pulling it apart, and it's just moving. Look at that. It's just coming apart. There is still some of it. It's not completely ready yet. I could take it out. This is coming apart as well. Look at that. Actually, maybe it is completely ready. As I'm going through this, I'm realizing it's coming right out. And it's pulling right apart. So let me just move it this way. That's still a little tough. So that I'm going to put back in. Although that comes right out. See, that really should normally just fall right apart, and it's not doing that yet. So that's not ready. This part is, though. This is all completely ready. So I've taken this out. I'm going to put that back in the oven. This is our pulled pork with the Cajun rub on it. So I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this back in the oven and let it go a little bit more, and then I'm going to have that beautiful pulled pork we can put, you know, there was a time we probably put on a big bulky with some coleslaw and all kinds of good stuff, but we're probably not going to do that. We're probably tonight, if we have this for dinner tonight, we probably will have this with a little bit of farro or brown rice on the side. I may make a touch of like a nice healthy barbecue sauce, a little tangy, a little sweet and spicy to go with it, but that's probably how we'll have this tonight, if we have this tonight. I also have up next will be some scallops, and I'm thinking of actually pan searing those scallops, and I'm probably not going to do that on camera, but I am going to get them all ready so that they're in the fridge with a little limoncello glaze to go over them. So not sure exactly what's on the agenda, but when we know, we'll let you know. So that's going to go back in the oven, and then we'll be back in a few minutes. Hey there. So this is our pork butt. I had taken some of it out earlier because it was actually, some of it was ready, but some just needed just a little bit more to cook. And I believe that is really good to go now. And I'm going to reserve that juice because I'm not ready to let go of that yet. And see, all I want to do here is just pull this apart in here. Look at that. Oh, I can't even tell you, this smells so good. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm reserving some of that liquid because I'm actually going to put it in here to keep it nice and moist. This is covered with that nice Cajun rub, that Cajun spice. This just pulls apart, and of course it's a pork butt, so there's some fat in it. That fat breaks down and makes everything nice and moist and delicious. And then that Cajun spice just kind of spices it up a bit. Look at that. So it's coming apart. Whoa. And the longer that this sits in its juices, the more it's going, the tenderer it's going to get, actually. And I am going to put some of those juices right on this. And that is going to be absolutely delicious. It's a little hot, but it's not too bad. So I don't want too much, but I want enough to keep it nice and moist. And I put it in a little Tupperware container. Now, we could actually go ahead and have this now if we wanted to. Prepare it, make some rice, do what we're going to do, but I'm actually going to just put it away. I'm not sure what we're having for dinner later. We've got some other things to do, and we'll come back to this, but it's been cooking most of the day. Probably about 3 or 4 hours it was in there at 375 to 400 degrees, and that's it. Very small. It was just a little under 5 pounds pork butt. I made a Cajun rub, put it on it, put a little water in the pan, covered it up nice and tight, put it in the oven to cook, and that's it. So there you have it, pulled pork.